Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness is a 2022 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics, featuring the character of Doctor Strange. Produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, it is the sequel to Doctor Strange in 2016 and the 28th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The film was directed by Sam Raimi, written by Michael Waldron, and stars Benedict Cumberbatch as Stephen Strange alongside Elizabeth Olsen, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Benedict Wong, Xochitl Gomez, Michael Stuhlbarg, and Rachel McAdams. In the film, Strange portrays America Chavez, played here by Gomez, a teenager capable of traveling the multiverse, from Wanda Maximoff, played by Olsen. Doctor Strange director and co-writer Scott Derrickson had plans for the sequel by October 2016. He signed to return as director in December 2018 when Cumberbatch was confirmed for the return. The film's title was announced in July 2019 along with Olsen's involvement, while Jade Haley Bartlett was hired to write the film that in October. Derrickson stepped down as director in January 2020, citing creative differences, with Waldron and Raimi joining the next month and starting over. They added elements of the horror genre that Raimi had worked with previously and made Maximoff the villain of the film, continuing her story from the series WandaVision made in 2021. Filming began in November 2020 in London, but was put on hold during January 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Production resumed by March 2021 and concluded in mid-April of that year in Somerset. Shooting also occurred in Surrey and Los Angeles. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness premiered at the Dolby Theatre in Hollywood on May 2nd, 2022, and was released to the United States on May 6th of that year, as part of Phase 4 of the MCU film franchise. The film stars Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange, a neurosurgeon who became the master of the mystic arts following a career-ending car accident. Writer Michael Waldron said Strange was at the height of his powers in this film, and compared the character to Indiana Jones as a hero who could take a punch, but with the intellect of a chef. He saw Strange as a great adventure hero who'd just like to watch kick ass. Director Sam Raimi explained that Strange begins the film believing that he should be making all the decisions, but must learn to let go a little bit and trust in others. Cumberbatch also portrays 3 alternative versions of the character, a version who dies at the beginning of the film and wears a costume inspired by Matt Fraction's 2011 Defenders comic book series, the former Sorcerer Supreme of Earth 838, who founded the Illuminati, and a version who has been corrupted by the Darkhold. Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff, or Scarlet Witch, a former Avenger gone rogue who can harness chaos magic and engage in telepathy and telekinesis, an alternate reality. The film continues Maximoff's ownership of what makes her unique and the accountability of her own life's experiences that began in the series WandaVision, including use of an accent that is more true to her Sokovian heritage, after some of the previous MCU films had moved her to a more Americanized version. Olsen wanted to ensure Maximoff's role in the film honored the events of the series, requesting some adjustments to the film to ensure that it involved the character rather than repeating moments from WandaVision. She felt the film's portrayal showed a new confidence for the character that she was really empowering, and said it was okay to play characters that people get frustrated with sometimes. Olsen also portrays the character's Earth 838 counterpart, Chiwetel Ejiofor as Carl Moldo, a Sorcerer Supreme of Earth 838 and a member of the Illuminati. He is an alternate version from the Moldo seen in the first film, which set him up as a future antagonist. This version does not appear in the sequel because he did not fit into the story, with Waldron explaining that they were focused on the Earth 838 version of the character and felt it was more exciting to leave the Earth 616 version for another day. Then there's Benedict Wong as Wong, Sorcerer Supreme of the Earth 616 and Strange mentor and friend. The actor was happy to hear that the character would be in the Sorcerer Supreme and to stand toe-to-toe with Doctor Strange, serving as the voice of reason for Strange, who ultimately faces consequences for ignoring Wong's advice. The actor had more action sequences in this film and prepared by training with former rugby league player Shannon Haggerty. Then we have Xochitl Gomez playing America Chavez, a teenager who has the ability to travel between dimensions by punching open doorways. She originates from another universe known as the Utopian Parallel. Gomez wanted to remain faithful to the source material, despite playing a younger version of the character that is seen in the comics, and said her journey in the film begins with the character having been alone a long time and running away from her uniqueness. Chavez has to embrace her abilities and learn to trust in others by the end of the film. Marvel Studios had been looking for the right film to introduce the character for a long time before settling on the Multiverse of Madness. Michael Stuhlbarg as Nicodemus West, a surgeon and former colleague of Strange. Stuhlbarg was planned to portray his Earth 838 counterpart as well, but was only able to film one scene, that's the original version, due to the scheduling conflicts. The Earth 838 version would have worked for the Illuminati, with the protagonist finding his head after he was killed by Maximoff off-screen, similar to the death of Samuel L. Jackson's Ray Arnold in Jurassic Park in 1993. Then we have Rachel McAdams as Christine Palmer, an emergency surgeon who was a colleague and lover of Strange. The film explores Strange's decision at the end of Doctor Strange to protect the New York Sanctum and not to be with Palmer, despite still having feelings for her and possibly regretting his decision, with Palmer getting married to someone else in this film. McAdams also portrays the Earth 838's counterpart, who is an employee of the Baxter Foundation and a former lover of the realities, Strange. McAdams described this version of the character as a multiversal expert who allowed her to have more action sequences compared to the first film. She has a lot more baggage than the original version of the character due to Earth 838 version of Strange being corrupted, but her storyline with Earth 616 Strange helps resolve the love story with its own version of Palmer. Now, I find myself really enjoying this film. It's pure escapism at its best, and it really is a visual feast. An expectation you have going into any Marvel movie these days is a big budget visual festival that costs a lot of money to make, but makes a lot of money in return. Although I do prefer my superheroes more grounded and gritty, say like Batman and Daredevil, Doctor Strange is fun, primarily because Benedict Cumberbatch is just so good in the role. I mean, here we have a very, very fine actor bringing his superb acting chops to this over-the-top adaptation of the comic book character. Cumberbatch plays Strange as an arrogant yet sincere man, with plenty of flaws, but at the end of the day wants to do what's right. He brings a right amount of panache to the role, and for me really captures the essence of the enigmatic Doctor Strange to make him more believable and enduring as a hero. I've always enjoyed Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff too, and I thought her take on this MCU character is fantastic, particularly in the WandaVision series. It was a surprising show for me. It started off quite confusing, and I even thought to myself, am I really watching a Marvel series? But as the show developed and went on, it really became quite a fantastic show, and added even more layers to this already fascinating character. She plays the character with an authentic intensity and passion. She fundamentally has a good side to her, but through the various actions of what's happened to her in her life, she has got this selfish aspect to her personality, which makes her ruthless, dangerous, and very, very unpredictable at times. And in this film, it plays to that side of her, that she just wants happiness for herself and will go about any means to do this. The story can be somewhat convoluted and over-bloated at times, but you kind of just have to sit back and relax and get taken on the ride. Bringing Sam Raimi in as a director for this film was a great choice. I've always been a big fan of his, particularly his original Spider-Man takes, and his new vision is a welcome addition to the MCU universe. I particularly loved the cameos from Josh Krasinski playing Mr. Fantastic, but particularly seeing Patrick Stewart back as Professor X, and I hope finally we will see the X-Men incorporated into the greater MCU universe. Rachel McAdams is fine in the role and does what she has to do, probably a little bit more, like she said, action sequences in this film. And newcomer Xochitl Gomez is adequate in her role. There were some smolchy scenes in the film I probably could have done without, but overall this is a fun, visually spectacular roller coaster ride of a film with an albeit exceptionally complicated story. I even sometimes think, how do these guys come up with this stuff? What are they smoking? But ultimately, since the Avengers Endgame, the MCU hasn't been quite as alluring as it was to me before. I can't say I really love the addition of the multiverse, as for me sometimes it kind of feels like it's an easy way out for the writers, because if any character's been written off, well, you'll just have another version of him in another realm. And the stories can be quite bloated and over the top, basically, and now this is really going into the land of complete and utter fantasy, with multiple realms, lives, and alternate versions of characters appearing everywhere, so it can get a bit confusing and perplexing at times. But this film tries to do its best to just try and bring some sort of reality to this show. And for me, it really is this performance of Cumberbatch that brings it all together and ties it up beautifully. Once again, this was a fun, easy film. Don't go in expecting a dialogue-heavy classic. It's just about escapism at the end of the day, and that's what it provides you with. Good, old-fashioned entertainment. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness gets a 7.5 out of 10.